Wingtip.
Good afternoon. It is August 7th, 2023. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Limos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What's going on, Will? It's 2023, and what we have going on in the world is a Japanese man paid over $20,000 to buy a very expensive dog costume. It is very realistic. He said he wanted to feel like he was an animal, so he spent the money, and then he was walked. He was walked because he's a dog. You can't have a dog off a leash in New York City. Was walked around the park. Have we gone too far?
Yes. This sounds actually. I just saw this on social media just recently. This is, trust me, we're going to get there. It's somewhat related. It was interviewing the dad in Step Brothers, and they were talking about the scene where he said he wanted to be a dinosaur when he was young. He wanted to grow up and be a dinosaur. He said that was entirely improvised. That the director came up and told him, "I want you to go up to Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and tell him I wanted to be a dinosaur when I was younger." And they just all improv that entire scene of them being like, "Well, you could never be a dinosaur. You're crazy." I still am very much under the intention that I don't think you could be a dinosaur. So, I'm sorry if I'm raining on your parade or, tightening the leash a little bit on what we need to be doing here. But this is a bit much. This is a bit much. I like dogs very much. I'm very familiar with them. I'm familiar with a lot of breeds and a lot of emotions and nice things about them. I'm cool. I'm good with them. This doesn't sound like something I'd want in my house, on my couch, or anywhere near me. Is that wrong?
If you were at the park,
no,
and there was a dog,
no,
and he didn't quite look right, would you pet it?
No.
He comes up to you, and you're not all the way sure. It's like, this might be a real dog, and he's doing the nose thing that dogs do.
I have nothing to say here. I mean, I could make a vaccine joke right now. I could do a variety of things. I just feel like I'm the fool for even giving this guy the day of light on such a popular podcast right now, on such a busy newscast weekend right now. There's so much we could be talking about, and we're gonna give this guy some attention. How about we talk about the World Cup, which is not going so well if you're an American, which we are. We're barely soccer fans, let alone that. But we, unlike I think most Americans who were like, I stayed up all night, I got up early for all that. We stayed up all night and got up all early for that, and watched the games, and they were less exciting than soccer could ever be, I suppose. We don't score. We score one goal in the last 3 games. We don't score any goals in the last 2, and we struggle. We don't necessarily struggle, but we don't score, and then we head into penalty kicks, and it's kind of right there for the taking. It's essentially we have 3 shots to make it, and you win, and we blow all 3 shots. The more frightening part about it are the people that did miss, and there's some veterans on there. There's some nameable people. I don't feel like trashing anyone right now. This isn't really a soccer podcast, but I know you have some thoughts, and perhaps you're going to be a little bit more critical of them. But I thought the Sweden goalie was great. Is there anything? Are we missing anything here, or is this team just not ready? I mean, they struggle in the pool thing. I mean, what are you thinking?
I'll start off that no, I'm not a soccer expert. No, I'm not a women's soccer expert, but I am a sports fan. Maybe an expert sometimes, yes, sometimes no. But what I do know, if you want to win games, you have to score more points than the other team. And in soccer, that's scoring more goals. And 4 total goals over 4 games, 1 per game, and one of the times was against was it Vietnam?
I already passed.
It was
history.
It was the first one, and we won 3-0. And I remember even at the time being told like that's not enough goals. I watched them when they played the Netherlands, and we were down at the half. It was the first time being down at the half in 11 years, and I started to sound the alarm because it wasn't just we're right there, but just some weird things have happened. There's been some fluky things. It's like this team's the effort's not there. Like, we're just getting beat at all facets of the game. I tried to sound the alarm to you. You were having none of it. You were saying, oh, well, the Celtics, they don't win by 100 points every game. And you were trying to downplay it at every turn. So I tried to warn you about this. And then sure enough, Sunday rolls around. The last game I did not stay up for, which I'm very glad I didn't stay up for, where it was a 0-0 tie. that would have very much infuriated me on a school night. But this was a Saturday into Sunday, so it's like, all right, I can plan my time around this. And now we're into knockout round, and we're the best women's soccer team in the world. We're gonna find a way. Now it's no more messing around. Kind of like this year the Celtics would have. It was only when their backs were against the wall that they really all of a sudden showed the life. So I've dealt with teams like this before, and then no, the effort was much better, but they could just not capitalize. I agree with you that the Swedish goalie just had a great game, but there are a lot of those shots that there was just no power. I mean, it was towards the net, and then I guess I don't understand the intricacies of the subbing, but it almost seemed like we were taking out some of our better players. So I didn't quite understand that, but that just might be my soccer ignorance. But I just thought there was no way we were going to lose. It's very nerve-wracking when you go to penalty kicks because it just seems so fluky, just whether it goes in or not. But then we are absolutely in the driver's seat, score, and we win. And we didn't even force the goalie to have to make a save. Just airmailed him, and then on top of it, that finish. I cannot imagine that finish. I looked at the picture on Twitter so many times. It does not get any closer than that. I mean, that's just like, one of the top things where just you look at it and go, just sports. Like, where else does that minuscule amount and that our goalie made quite an effort, and it was just confusing as an American. And I don't know if it was for other countries where when the referee is talking to the woman that kicked it and gives kind of the hands across, where like in football would be, hey, no, incomplete. So I'm thinking no goal, but then it turns out that means game over. That was a goal. That was good, and this thing is over. Women have their worst World Cup ever.
I thought it made for some really good TV, though. That wait where the ref is just listening in the ear, and we're all there's like players all around the ref. They're all wondering, is it good, is it not good? And then the first gesture is so confusing, as you mentioned. But that gap, like I feel like I aged in waiting to find out, all right, did we just blow this or did we not? Like, because for a second it was like, I can't believe she pulled this off, because it would have been a miracle save. See, she does pull this off. It's an unbelievable save, and it's so close. It almost happens. I'm going to defend U.S. women's soccer for a little bit here and just say that there are a couple challenges that happen. For sure, we're a dominant team, and for sure, I think there was higher expectations than what the outcome ended up being. But, when you're doing these 4-year time frames for your roster, I think you run into some really difficult challenges where your veterans either got to go or move on or not want to join, or you have to have young people that you trust to kind of refill their spots. When you have this sort of dominance for so many years right now, I just felt like we made up our minds years ago on the roster based on some old history when we probably could have had some younger people. Now, that I could be completely wrong about that. We put out a young team, and they just look like they have no experience. They look, they just maybe freeze in the moment. But I just feel like when you commit to these 4-year terms, it's really hard to just judge on your roster of saying, like, is this going to be a little too old for so-and-so, or are we better off with the 20-year-old? Now, a lot of our 20-year-olds actually really came through, even in the penalty kicks. I think some of the younger sub came in, and I think she scored. So the biggest frustration with penalty kicks is it's very similar to I guess you just got to put the ball on goal, man. You have no chance if you don't put it on goal. It's like the quarterback not getting the play off before the clock goes on. You the only way you can successfully complete this play is if you just shoot the ball on goal. You have a really good chance. It's a really challenging thing for the goalie to do. You just have to kick it that way and not kick it over the goal. Don't hit the post. Just put it on goal and give him a chance. You have a really good chance. The odds in your favor. So when you kick it away and you don't hit it, you just removed all the advantages you had. And I know that they're professionals. I know they're really good at this. So I'm just shocked of how challenging penalty kicks truly are and how poorly they played out. 3 chances. This is like 3 PATs for a kicker. That's all you got to do. You had 3 chances and you win, and we are where we are. But any thoughts on the 4-year thing? I just think that's hard, right? That's probably hard in basketball as well. I think we have the advantage of guys not wanting to play as long and just saying, no, I don't want to go. So it's always young guys that just want to go. But when you're really good for a whole bunch of years, I see why older veterans want to come back and why teams are interested in bringing them back. But is that what went wrong here?
that is such a lame excuse. Oh, well, it's 4 years, and well, some of our players got older, and some of them are too young.
Well, how would
All
you
the other
know?
teams, all the other teams played 4 years ago. It's not like the rules are different for us, and this was some obstacle that only we had to overcome. Then you're watching it, and it's halftime, and half the commercials are for women on the team that no one scored, and it really reminded me. I say towards the end, but Baker Mayfield is still in the NFL. But it would be Baker Mayfield throws interception, and 2 out of the 4 commercials in the commercial break are him for State Farm or whatever insurance he was selling. Where this is why how are you in commercials? Like this is not working. This is not working, and I don't think that the 4 years is any sort of excuse.
I think it's a challenge for every other team, and they're going through it just like they did right now. I think there's years where you're like, oh, yeah, no, these guys were really good years ago, and I'm not sure if that building off that is always as true. I think there's a weird cutoff point. I don't know when it is.
It's not like they haven't played any soccer since 4 years ago. You have I imagine you got warm-up tournaments, you have friendlies, you get to see how the team works.
Well, then I would have coached this differently then. But that's easy to say because we lost now, but I just – it feels like the roster was constructed around a veteran team that was almost too conservative. I feel like
it's not that we just lost now and it's a surprise. It's we weren't playing well coming up to that. So I think something had to be fixed earlier than this.
Well, maybe if we had a young spark, we could have had some energy, and that would have turned out. That's the only thing I could say to all this. I don't know what we're supposed to say. Like, ideally, this is like men's Olympic basketball losing. Like, this is
yes,
this is. Like, who am I supposed to critique? This is the top dog right now. I'm supposed to say this didn't go well. Like, it's really hard to start picking apart all of this. It easily could have won this game, and we could be moving on to the next round, and then they could win the whole damn thing. This happens. They tied the game. They didn't lose by that much. They went into penalty kicks. They had 3 chances to win. It's not like they lost by a mile, right? This is really close. A loss is a loss. Sure.
That's yeah, but that's not the bar that we're saying that. If they had made it to the finals and this happened in the finals, maybe I could say that. But they were the favorite going into the tournament, and they lost in the Sweet 16. They lost the first round of the knockout. It's the worst performance that they've ever put on, and I think that's a great way of looking at it. Is the men's basketball. If they had lost in the first round of the knockout, even if it was close, say it goes to double overtime and they lose. This is the same thing. It's not, well, you know what? They put their best effort in. If this was the men's soccer team, we made it to the knockout round. Yeah. We'll throw a parade. Yeah, awesome
we had
job,
3
guys.
kicks. We almost won. We had 3 chances.
Yeah, we almost won. Yeah, that's the attitude. But that's a loser. That's a losing attitude. And for the men's basketball and for the women's soccer, we shouldn't have that attitude. We shouldn't be going, you know what? Well, we played them pretty close, and that's pretty good. It's like, no, we're supposed to be the best in the world. I expect to be the best in the world. I was told ahead of time we were going to win. I wanted to front run. I came on the team, and then we didn't. So I'm disappointed.
I understand your disappointment, but maybe you're misunderstanding the margin of how much better a good team in soccer is. It's not that much of a margin. You're never dominant. You're not.
Is it too much to ask for a goal?
No,
is that too much to ask? But would they go over 200 minutes with no goals?
Look, red flags all over the place, but they easily could have won all those games just getting 1 goal, and then we could easily be saying they only scored 2 goals. Same thing right now, but those 1 goals in each of those games would win them every one of the games, and we're not even talking about this. It's a small margin. It's 0-1.
Couldn't you just easily say that the opposite way though? It was so close. We give up 2 more goals, we don't even make it out of the group stage.
Well, not giving up the goal is also just as much of a feat. That's not easy to do either. It's like you did one half, but you couldn't finish the other half. It's like you didn't give up anything.
Yeah,
but you also
apparently you need to do both.
Obviously, I just don't know. We are trashing entirely one side of the team. So the defense was fine. What was wrong with that? Our goalie was great.
I agree. The goalie made a penalty kick. I was shocked when that happened. It was like, is this like a forced thing? Like after so many, your goalie has to do it, almost like in college football. They've changed the rules where after so many, you can't kick field goals anymore, or you can't kick PATs. You have to go for two just to kind of change the variance up. So I was kind of expecting the Swedish goalie to have to go after her. It's like, oh man, she's been pretty good in the goal. I'm wondering if she's able to kick, but no, that was not the case. Somehow she was the best option there, which she cashed that in no problem. I was really surprised by that.
I don't think it's as much of a shocking choice as you think. This is someone who's studied the goalie. It's like knowing the defense and then having to go play quarterback. You know exactly what the defense is doing. Like you have all of that knowledge.
I know, and maybe it's just that the PATs are generally so easy, where it's just like you're kicking so close, and you can kick so powerfully that a lot of times if you could just make the goalie guess the wrong way, you should be able to get it in. But you're saying, oh well, you just need to know. But I mean, there's a bunch of pitchers that know exactly, what batters are thinking and are amazing pitchers. But if you put them up at the plate, there's no way they're going to get around on a fastball. They're not able to.
It's far more practice than you think. The goalie has to know how to have touches as well. On the defense, all the time, the ball gets swung back to them. They have to know everything, and they're just as involved. I think it's a lot more in your approach to it, of what you're angling, because the goalie's trying to read you. They're going to read something off of you, and you want to mislead them on that, or you want to change it up at the last second. I think the goalie is used to that and good at that. That not everyone's good at faking that. I think that's part of the pressure when you're going there, where you've made up your mind, you're going to go the top right, but you can't make it look like you're going to go top right. Because if you do, the goalie does have a 50-50 shot at guessing, and they're doing everything to get in your head this whole time. And I just think there's an advantage to knowing how that game's being played and just not falling for it. I'm fine with the goalie taking the shot. I just think that they're used to that pressure. They're used to that pressure as well. If she's in the zone. Are we supposed to bring someone who didn't even play or isn't even?
That's exactly what we did. We brought in Megan Rapinoe at I think there was only a little bit of time left, and then, or actually, did we bring her? I think we brought her in. Did we bring her in an extra time, even after the fact?
No, we brought in. She came in probably with like 25 minutes left in the game, and she was she's our crosser. She's supposed to be the corner kick person, and she does put the ball in play, and we did have some opportunities with it, as well as when she was up for the penalty kick, I felt great. I was going to turn the game off. I was ready. I said, she's up. This is exactly who I want kicking this. I'm so shocked by the result of it that I think that's part of the reason we all feel let down right now, is that we liked the odds of all of this. We liked who was signed up to kick the next ball and give us a chance to win this damn game. It's disappointing, and it happens. It's that close, though. We could easily win. And I don't know if I feel like I should punish a team for putting in a veteran who made the offense give us more opportunities. And I would have, if I could have handpicked all the penalty kickers, I would have picked her. So I'm not going to trash that. I can't let that go in. The subs at the very end. I was just
going to your point of saying you wanted someone that was in the zone that had been playing the whole time, where I was just saying she came in. But I guess you've been playing for like a half an hour. You're pretty well warmed up at that point.
Then they played for 30 more minutes at the bonus time, and I do think it's impossible not to. You're obviously trying to score, but I do think at some point it switches to, if we give up one goal right now, this thing's over. But if we just stall this until penalty kicks, you kind of get those 5 chances to just stay alive a little bit longer. You obviously want to score.
What did you think of the announcing?
It was so early that it's fine. I don't know. I really don't have any comments. It was so early. I can't say I was paying much attention to it.
I don't know the name of either of them, and they would throw it to the studio a handful of times, especially with the extra time. But one of the ways that I kind of judge an announcer and how much quality they have is how few times they have to go and mention what the score is. And I felt like down the stretch, the guy just mentioned over and over again, it's a 0-0 game. Hey man, could you tell me something? Like, could you teach me something about soccer? Something, make me smarter. I can look at the score and I know that it's 0-0, and telling me it's 0-0. And then one time saying, okay, after this, it goes to 2 15-minute halves. Okay, wasn't sure about that. I was like, oh, is it going to be sudden death? And immediately after goes,
there's no
and
breaks.
That's regardless.
There's no breaks. What do you mean? It's not easy. It's not like you can just cut to a commercial. We'll be right back after this. He's live from the start to the end. There's no breaks.
Teach me something.
Okay,
don't just keep telling me what the score is.
You're watching the World Cup.
I know no one scored.
You're watching the World Cup.
Since 4:30 in the morning, and I know that there's no goals.
This
I've
is
been
the
trying to
varsity
stay awake
game, all
for
right?
years.
Go study with the JV guys. You need an education right now,
No,
all right?
no,
There's
that's
MLS,
not true. When you
Messi,
watch a basketball game,
Messi's
and
in
I
the
actually know
U.S.
about.
Go watch
I,
Messi.
I watch basketball games, and the really good announcers, you could still learn something. Even someone that's as plugged in as I am, if you have a good announcer, and I notice it seems like it's more at the lower levels. Like if I'm watching more of a like an ESPN Plus college game, that more often the guy will just mention the score, and it's just he has to talk, he has to say something, and that's a crutch that I think they use. And I thought that guy just used it over and over again, and it was just it didn't add anything. And I thought they could have done better. I thought they need somebody else in there.
And you don't think at all you don't think at all that he's not experiencing what you're also experiencing, is that this dominant U.S. women's team is not looking good, and that he is now broadcasting this to a whole bunch of Americans in the middle of the morning or the middle of the night that aren't going to be happy, that aren't going to like all of this, and that he may be a little nervous, man. You know, it's just I'm not going to trash him. Somebody who's on air for 45 minutes straight, I'm not going to trash you. That's not easy.
That's his job.
It's still not easy.
What are you talking about? We, right now, are on the air for over 45 minutes straight.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if a dozen people listen. This guy's got 1 million people tweeting at him every hour saying his hair looks bad, all right? It's not easy.
What are you talking about? I never even saw the guy.
That's not the point. Nobody's doing that to me, all right? Please don't do this to me. And if anything, you want to do something to us, find an announcer that can teach Zach anything about soccer and send us those clips. He obviously wants to watch him. He's so desperate for knowledge.
I just don't need to be told something that is displayed right on the screen. Multiple times, over and over again. Once in a while, you're resetting. There's something, but just it seemed like it was, telling us it's the 88th minute and the score is 0-0. Yes, those are the two things, like all on the screen. Could you tell me something like, maybe the setup of their pattern, or why we haven't scored a goal, or why our defense is so good? You mentioned that, but I didn't think that they did it, and I think it could be improved.
All right, well, speaking of votes and interest and intrigue, we did a draft last week. The votes are in. Zach, you have won one more time.
Yes.
You won 8 votes to a very fake 6, which is probably a more accurate 4. But with all of that, we decided we're going to do another draft this week, seeing how the popularity just continues to grow. And this week we said we do one for us, right? This one's for us. So we're doing
this one's for us.
We're doing out of respect to the late and our favorite Tommy Heinsohn, who, if you're a Celtics fan in the New England area and ever got the chance to watch Tommy Heinsohn on the local NBC Boston broadcast with normally with Gorman, almost always with Gorman, after the game, after every Celtics game, a Tommy Award would be handed out for someone who got the most Tommy points throughout the game. Now, how do you get Tommy points? Well, normally you got to be a favorite of Tommy Heinsohn. That's for one. But what Tommy Heinsohn likes to give out Tommy points for is just straight up hustle, straight up grit. Generally, not always the star. Sometimes it's a guy that you had to put the whole thing on this guy's shoulders, and they will reward a heavy workload. But most of the time, it's a guy that's almost undermined or an underdog of some form, and just kind of comes out of nowhere and does something that the team absolutely needed. It's a spark plug. It's a whole bunch of things. I'm sure you have your own definition of it, and those are all good characteristics, and there really isn't a wrong answer here. But we are going to draft our top Tommy Award winners, basically the guy you think would be most likely to win the Tommy Award when he's on the floor over any other guy. Is that pretty much sum this up? Is anything you want to throw in there?
I agree with everything that you said, and it was always fun. Throughout the game, you'd hand out Tommy points, and you get the Tommy Award at the end, just to kind of encapsulate all of it. But it was I agree with what you said, that it wasn't necessarily the guy that scored the most points. Sometimes it had to do with sacrificing your body or just doing whatever it took to get the W. So yes, I am ready.
All right, Zach. Well, any comments on your victory from last week? I mean, is this continued dominance? What can we know? What am I doing something wrong? Did I pick the wrong movies? Is it the first pick? Do you think it's that much of an advantage?
I think sometimes the first pick can be a huge advantage, but I think other times, last week, I don't think necessarily that the first pick.
I thought the Duke one
had much to do with it.
The Duke one's the only one that I feel like I might have done some things differently if I had the first pick, and I'm not disappointed with my results, but I feel like that one there was a little less to pick from. But this one, I don't think there's really a wrong answer here, so I'm not going to really trash anyone. I will trash whoever the number one pick is, and I will not be quiet if there is a wrong answer. I just think you have a lot of good options here. All right, so with that said, let's kick it off here with the first pick, Zach. What are we going with?
First pick, easy one, Celtics legend. I think it helps, too, with the amount of time that you've played for the Celtics. So, easy one, Paul Pierce. He has the most Tommy Award-winning awards. So that just puts him right at the top. It's actually far and away more than any of the other players. He's just played there the longest. After he stopped playing, he kind of did the Kendrick Perkins, another former Celtic. Just there was a lot more of, you got to try to get attention. You got to say some crazy things. So, I think that has tarnished what his reputation is. But if you really dig down into the stats, all-time great Celtic, easy, but arguably one of the most clutch players. If you go look at it, he has contributed to the most walk-off buzzer beaters in NBA history. He has 7 buzzer beaters himself and 5 assists on buzzer beaters, and that combined is the most.
Is there a favorite Paul Pierce play or game? Or, like what sticks out? I mean, I'll give one if you don't have one.
Easily. Oh, actually, can I do 2?
I don't know. If you don't do one, I have one. You do one, I'll do the other one. If it's the same one, I'll let you do the other one.
It's the jawing with Al Harrington. Then someone goes over to try to take Al Harrington's spot, and Al Harrington pushes him away and says no. And you can just see him going at it. And it probably is Tommy Heinsohn or Mike Gorman. I think it was Mike Gorman on the call saying, the referee's telling him to, break it up. And Pierce is basically saying, I am going to score on you. I'm going to put it right in your eye. And that is exactly what he does. Huge 3-pointer. And that's my one.
I was going to say I think what does he go for 45 against LeBron in the conference finals and advances us. I think LeBron's still in Cleveland. LeBron has an incredible game, but they go toe to toe. It's one of the best matchups. Like that'd be a good rewatchable game just because there's 2 guys playing perfectly, like the perfect game, back and forth, guarding each other, which is something you don't always see a whole lot, and playing probably the whole game both ways. That would have been my favorite Pierce moment, but the pants tug with Harrington. That's this isn't Harrington. Is that the same game? I feel like there's a game with it's Harrington and Ron Artest. They pull on his shorts. They pull him down and he hits the 3.
No, it's not. Well, actually, I guess it could be the same game, but no, I was thinking of it's the one where he hits the 3 over Al Harrington.
Anyways, great choice. Do you want to know where he was on my list?
Sure.
Wasn't on it.
How?
I don't know. I just felt like he got a little too much star power. I picked a bunch of underdogs that I wanted to talk about, and I truly thought you were going to.
That's not all the the Tommy point definitely has to do with grit, but Paul Pierce had grit. The man was stabbed over the summer.
I agree.
Played, what was it, 81 games? If that is not Tommy worthy right there, as well as Tommy Heinsohn. Tommy Heinsohn was a winner. That's what he likes about those hustle plays. They lead to wins, and Paul Pierce led to a lot of Celtics wins. I'm
not fighting the answer. I'm just more frustrated that I have ranked these 1 through 10, and I've done this through every draft, and I've just abided by because this is truly how I think it should go. These are the rankings. I'm going to trust what's on the board. And I have misjudged and misguessed this so bad and so poorly again that I have trapped myself into taking the number 1 pick that I thought you were going to take, because I thought Marcus Smart was the obvious choice at number 2, and that's what I'm going to take at number 2 here. I don't know what else to add right now other than like that James Harden play where he wins the game off of like 2 charges. I think that's just stuff
legendary.
You don't.
I was thinking about that earlier today when I was going through that list. That game just sticks out more than any of the other ones. 2 charges in a row, and we needed both of those charges. That we were going to lose that game. That game was over. That game is over 99% of the time.
I think that's just really defines what the Tommy Award is making plays that no one else on the team could have made to get you a result that wasn't possible without you making those plays. Like that's what this is, and him doing that against James Harden in a game like that, and a variety of games too. And I've trashed him for perhaps not having taking care of the ball or turning it over or not hitting the right shot and all that, but in terms of a Tommy point and an award and an accountability of a guy who's going to show up every game and play defense and give you those efforts, it's a characteristic you don't necessarily see in every player. You don't get to watch in every player, and I have no problem with taking him at number 2. I thought for sure you were going to have him at 1. Do you mind sharing with the listeners where you had Smart on your board?
Well, I can't believe that known Marcus Smart hater Will picked him as his first pick. So I thought I was going to be able to get him as in the next round or two.
I just, in terms of the grit, like this is the guy. Like I have a couple old school guys here too, but I just think a lot of the guys that I have written down on my list, and Pierce absolutely falls into this, and as well as I'm sure everyone else on your list, they gave the Celtics everything they got. Like I like there's some of these guys like they don't recover from any of this. They don't get any of the credit from any of this. They gave it all to us, and we had so much success with a lot of them. And I'm grateful for a lot of it. All right, I guess you're up. I feel completely blindsided now that I have Marcus Smart on my team. But go ahead, number 3. Who you going with?
Number 3, maybe not quite the legend that Paul Pierce is, but still NBA champion. I'm going with Rajon Rondo. Another tough guy. Not necessarily in the same mold as a Marcus Smart, but definitely the Orlando playoffs when he's going against I can't remember who it's on a the ball is deflected into the backcourt and he just runs, dives before the other guy, gets up, makes the layup. The playoffs against Miami when Wade very viciously and dirtily tries to break his arm. He goes in the back. You assume his season is over because his elbow went the wrong way, still came back out. Another thing you got to remember, it's towards the end of his Celtics tenure and kind of after he left, he fizzled very fast. But when he was like the guy, I mean, he was like, he put up some crazy stats lines against some really good players. And when he was still playing with some really good players, when he was playing with the big 3, and he'd have these huge triple doubles before the whole, he was scared to, get fouled and, avoid the foul line. And then just way too assist hunting. But like at the top, he was always there, always getting on the ground, always making the right play. And so he is my second pick.
Very underrated defender. I think early on he's complimented for his defense and his dribbling and kind of the coach on the floor. He's just super, super high intelligence basketball IQ. I love Rondo. He was on my list. He was a little bit farther down on the list. I just think he's a champion. I actually, if I were to pick like a moment of Rondo, and ironically would probably be in those later years where we lose to Miami in the playoffs, and it's kind of Rondo's team. We still have KG and Pierce, and I think Ray's gone at this point, but there's a couple of those series where Rajon Rondo is like the best player on our team, and we're still competing in games. Now we weren't quite good enough to defeat the Heat. We were definitely competing with them, and he was a main reason why. Love Rondo
against LeBron.
Against LeBron, yeah, against the broken elbow thing. That's legendary stuff. Great pick. He was a little bit farther on my list. I had him at 6. All right, ready? Number 4.
Who you got?
This is a fun one. I should have got the clip. I should have got the audio for it because there's so many of them. You can go on YouTube and you can search Walter McCarty and you will find I Love Walter all over there from Tommy Heinsohn himself. I think this is almost the invention of the Tommy Award. I think this is the first time anyone actually really started to care about it was when this guy just started hitting clutch threes, getting messy all over the floor, and just being this momentum shifter. Like this was like the Robert Horry guy of the Celtics, I would say, where the ball would just find its way to him at the end of the games, and you would always be relieved because it always seemed to always work out. It wasn't who you drew the play up for. It wasn't who the other team was really worried about shooting, but there was a confidence in it, and I thought he made a bunch of big plays. I love Walter. I thought Tommy Heinsohn loved him, and you can find clips of him saying this. And was Walter even on your list?
No.
No?
But there's a little bit of a problem here. I guess we didn't talk about it before, right before here, but I thought you said post 2003.
He's on the 2003 team.
So, but that's it. He's just there for the 1 year. Where I get Paul Pierce for his whole or for a lot more of his career. I have all of Rondo's career. For Walter, you just get him for the 1 year.
We're just doing a singular game. We just think who's going to get it who's most likely to get it for a singular game.
Okay.
I wanted to. All right, I feel like we constantly get trashed. We're not throwing in the old movies, the old whatever. I thought this was one where it fell into the rules. There is a clip of him winning the Tommy Award as Walter McCarty.
You're absolutely right on Tommy saying Walter.
So I just thought that's the first time I ever really remember caring about the Tommy Award and being like, oh, I'll give you a Tommy point. I love Walter. Tommy points. So I just feel like he falls into this and he should be in the draft, and I'm putting him in there. Every Celtics fan's going to agree with me, too, because when we sucked, we really sucked. It was brutal. But there'd be these huge games that we would somehow be in the game of. It'd be purely because this guy hit 2 threes that he had no business hitting, and he would do it all the time. I love Walter. I don't think there's a wrong answer in all this drafts, but I'm going with that. You're up with the 5th pick. What do you got?
With the 5th pick, I'm going with one of the ultimate tough guys, same era. I'm going Kevin Garnett. I think about him, and he's angry, and he's just all of that rage, and he just wants to win. And like I said, Tommy Heinsohn was a winner, and KG was going to do whatever it took to win. And definitely when he first got on the Celtics, he could do it on the offensive or the defensive side. Whatever you needed, he could hit clutch shots down the stretch if you needed. And he could lock down the other guy's big men, and he was not scoring, and he was going to berate him. And that's why I'm going with Kevin Garnett as my next pick.
A huge shift of all Celtics culture. Pierce is great. Nothing to take away from him. But the second Garnett walks in, there's a seriousness and a business take to no more messing around. That's just suddenly alive and infused within the whole team. I love Garnett. I love the effort. I mean, this guy tries so hard, he plays defense after the whistle and is now famous for it, of blocking the ball and stopping and goaltending shots after the whistle, after the foul. He doesn't
Something
stop.
that still happens.
That he invented.
He's been out of the league for a while now, and that still happens in games at any level where you're big enough and able to jump and block a shot or like goaltend.
Love Garnett. Love the winning. Love a champion. All right, next pick, number 6. I'm going to go with Isaiah Thomas. I love the winning. I love the victory. I haven't actually picked any champions for the Celtics. You have picked nothing but champions. I understand the flaw of my list, but I also just feel like this guy couldn't have given the Celtics anything more than they got. This was such an undeserving team to some degree where we weren't even really trying to compete. We weren't tanking, but our expectations weren't anywhere near of where this guy took us, to conference finals, to a whole bunch of things. I hate the way it all played out. There's a very bad ending to it. I don't feel good about it. I understand the business side of it all, but when I look back and I watch these highlights and I look at the joy of how happy I was during the era of this team, of just saying, I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's just because they're underdogs, or that this guy's undersized, or that he's going through family troubles during the playoffs that are crazy. He's having 53-point games and winning us games. Like that's amazing. This guy's 5'6", 5'7", and certainly when he was traded to Boston had nowhere near the expectations of where he took us. I don't think anything else defines a Tommy Point more than overcoming everything. And this guy, I can't think of anything he could have overcome more other than just actually getting to that championship. And if he's healthy, perhaps that one year where we take LeBron and young Tatum, to Game 7, which he's not even playing because he's got the messed up, elbow or something at the time. I don't know. Maybe we go somewhere with it. But I love Isaiah Thomas. I think this is absolutely a Tommy Award guy of just being an undersized person and overcoming a whole bunch. Did you have Isaiah on your team? Or on your list?
He probably was an honorable mention.
Oh man, we're on completely different lanes here. I love it. All right, you're up at number 7.
Number 7. I can't believe that he lasted this long. This one's a easy one for me. Went to Duke, now on the Celtics. Jason Tatum, another guy that's going to come through for you in the clutch when we needed him in that Game 7 against the Sixers. Set the record for Game 7s. You know who wasn't scared of Game 7s? Tommy Heinsohn. Loved Jason Tatum while he was there. And, definitely not necessarily the lunch pail guy that some of these other guys are. But when you need a bucket, Jason Tatum's going to get you that bucket and help you get the win. One of the best Celtics that we've had in recent memory.
Not even on the list. Not even an honorable mention. It didn't even make the top 20. I wrote down 20 names.
that was a mistake.
Yeah, it's very much a recency bias. I'll appreciate it more once we actually get this thing, but for right now, I'm still frustrated. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be on there and that he doesn't play hard. I just think there's been some games that scratch my head that are just a little too much recent memory. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened that one. It's no wrong pick. Absolutely tries hard. Absolutely come up clutch. Huge games. We've been to the finals. We'll hopefully have more to add to the story, unlike a lot of the other guys on this list. Next pick, number 8. All right, I'm picking my first champion. I'm gonna go Tony Allen. I think anytime the late great Kobe Bryant says this was the best defender, and something that he probably would never acknowledge and never really want to ever acknowledge, and kind of openly acknowledge, that Tony Allen was the guy that gave him the hardest time. Tony Allen was the guy that would fight him for the spot, that wouldn't fall for the pump fakes, would follow him, chase him everywhere, anticipate everything. It was just really good at defense. I think the grit and grind of Memphis, he gets a little bit more credit over there, but this started in Boston, and this is very much where that kind of originated. That Boston defense was excellent, and he was one of the main reasons why. Being able to throw him at Kobe and not necessarily have to throw any of the other guys was a huge relief. It was a huge advantage to have this guy on the team. Unbelievable Tommy Ward winner. Just the Kobe defense in 08 alone. I think that's enough to be worthy of this list. Any favorite Tony Allen stories?
Well, I wish that you had let me know that you were going to take Tony Allen right there, and that you didn't even have Jason Tatum on your list at all, and then I could have had both of them if I had just drafted Tony Allen first, because he was definitely on my list. He definitely belongs there. Very unfortunate with his injury, just a lot of what could have been, but I agree with you when Kobe says, yeah, that guy plays some real defense, and he absolutely did. Lost him to the grit and grind Grizzlies, same way we lost Marcus Smart. I think there's a lot of parallels there, but no, you stole that one from me.
All right, you're up at number 9. Who are you going with?
All right, last one. So I really got to make it a good one. Kind of in the same vein as Tony Allen and your Marcus Smart's kind of before. Well, I guess kind of around the same time, but before that, but definitely before Smart. Avery Bradley. He was a guy that was known for his defense. Was known as the guy that was locking up the other team's best guard. Went through a lot of struggles. You were definitely not a fan for a while. It took you a while to come over to his side. Once he improved, but always a guy that was going to try his hardest. He was not going to give up, and that's why I think Tommy Heinsohn would have him as the Tommy Point award winner.
I had him at number 7. What does that tell you? All right, I had him at 7. I went back and I watched highlights, and as much as it frustrates me that it feels like forever of his career he couldn't actually shoot, and he actually got a decent jumper, especially in mid-range and a corner 3 by his mid-years. It feels like he played forever. He managed to get on this team when we were super competitive and we got something out of him, but the anticipation on the steals, he's just taking cookies from everyone, a whole bunch. You go look up highlights, it's not hard to find Avery Bradley stealing the ball from a whole bunch of good players and giving a whole lot of people trouble. There's a lot of highlights, too, of him kind of pressing people, that something nobody really does anymore, and just getting away with it. It's pressing everyone on full court and just sneaking away. Some of them he steals the ball and shoots a 3 in the corner. That happens more than once throughout this guy's career. I think he falls between the cracks. He will probably never be appreciated. I can't imagine. Are we going to retire his number? We're not going to retire his number, right?
I don't think so, but he did have that game-winning buzzer beater that probably wouldn't have been a buzzer beater, but it bounced around for so long to prevent us from getting swept. So didn't prevent us from losing the series, but at least made it a little more, lasted a little bit longer. And you got to hit game winners if you want to win Tommy Awards.
All right, how about we do honorable mentions before my last pick, and I'll tell you if you get any of them.
Yeah.
What do you got for honorable mentions?
For honorable mentions, well, you're not gonna like this one because I got Jaylen Brown. I thought he was gonna get taken. There's definitely some recency bias there. What happened in the conference finals, but he's a guy that has won lots of Tommy Awards in the past, and I think that he can rise to the occasion even above Tatum. At any moment. Ray Allen, I think that whole relationship was kind of softened, but that kind of stuck with my picking champions. Al Horford.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's the guy.
That's number
All
10.
right.
I went with Al Horford. I I just think the defense, the leadership, I can't like overestimate how helpful that has been, because there was an era where we chose not to pay him. He goes to Philly, who gave him an exorbitant amount of money, basically just to pay him to not play against them.
To not guard Embiid.
Because his defense on Embiid, not being able to double him is a luxury. It's very similar to Kendrick Perkins and kind of advantages that Celtics have had in the past. Being able to do single coverage on guys is a huge advantage that where other teams almost have to double. I think that, and then his 3-point shooting. I think that Al has had a career where if he just wins one ring, I think it's good enough for a Hall of Fame talk. Like, I really think it is that. I think he just needs one ring, and it's got to be – he's still got to start. Like, this can't be – he can't get the one ring and come off the bench this year. He has to start. He's running out of time, but I do think, like, he's that close, and he's come that close. He's been very competitive throughout his career. Hasn't made a lot of finals or anything like
Reinvented himself.
I
think he had the second highest 3-point percentage last year.
And I know the playoffs threes did not go well, and we kind of killed him for all that, but you also kind of got to be reminded.
Small sample size.
Well, he's been doing this for a long time. I mean, this guy was a Joakim Noah teammate. Like, he's still doing it. So when he doesn't have a great 3-point shooting game at his whatever age he's at, like, maybe that's just kind of normal. Maybe we're a little crazy for almost expecting him to be a younger person. He's just not. So I love Al. Nothing but nice things to say about him. I think the leadership part of it all is a huge factor to it, of just kind of keeping everyone in line on this team, and it's just been the perfect vet that fits into everything that they're trying to do. So I think Tommy loved him. I'm sure worthy of a whole lot of Tommy awards here. My honorable mentions. So I just ranked him. My top 10, I went with Marcus Smart, Walter McCarty, Tony Allen, Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley, Paul Pierce, James Posey, Aaron Baines, and then some other. These names I just wrote down. I freaking love Marquise Daniels. I don't know if you remember Marquise Daniels. Delonte West, Greg Steensma.
That was the one when I was sure you're gonna move on. I don't think he ever actually won a Tommy Award, but that one game, and I think it was the season we were just terrible. And Tommy, he had like a couple blocks in a row, probably like over like Christmas break or something. It's the beginning of the year, and comparing him to Bill Russell, just Tommy is absolute best. It's like the only reason I'm gonna ever really remember Greg Steensma is because of that.
Tony Petit, Jonas Jerebko, Eric Williams. Eric Williams is a good one. I probably could have thrown him in there. The problem is we actually had like a bunch of successful eras now with the Celtics. I know we only won in 08, but we've been competitive basically for the last 13 years, maybe more, 15 years. And when you played in an era that wasn't in that, it's kind of hard to crack the list. But I think Eric Williams in the right mind probably maybe gets mentioned on some of these lists. This is fun. I'm glad we got to do this. I don't know if I feel good about winning this. I don't know if I'm ever going to win these, but I think people are listening. And I thank you all for listening, and I'll thank you even more if you subscribe. Now, there's a couple different places you can subscribe. You can subscribe on Spotify. You can follow us on our Facebook page, Little of Column A, Little of Column B. You can also vote on there for the draft, and that's going to decide the first pick for next week if we do continue on to do this. If it won't decide a draft, it'll decide something else. We'll make sure there's always stakes on something here. But give us a follow, give us a like, and give us a download if you're not doing that as well. So subscribe. Anything you want to add for the Tommy Point draft?
Yes, follow us on our Twitter page. Getting a nice fresh relaunch this week. LCA LCB podcast.
Hopefully we can get back to regular sports. There was a little bit of football that happened in the past week. Is that something we should talk about, or should we talk about Jimmy Butler's summer camp? Because I'm a little bit more interested in that.
All I just wanted to mention was football is back. I did watch the Hall of Fame game. There was a delay because they play it where the Hall of Fame is, not at an NFL stadium, and so the lights went out for a little bit. But was still just, it's been a long time since there's football, so they're just a little bit, and it was more on the background. Obviously, it's the Hall of Fame game, so no starters are playing, but Zach Wilson's out there. That's a name that I've heard before, and so I just enjoyed it. But yes, we can definitely get to Jimmy Butler. He is having a basketball / cheerleading camp the camp costs about $350 to attend, but if you would like even extra perk, you can pay just under $700 to play Jimmy Butler one-on-one. Does this interest you at all?
A little bit. There are cameos where the guy just says hello to you and maybe cracks a joke if you're lucky. Says your name. I don't know, just something like that for far more. This is you actually to physically get to play against him. And the only barrier to entry is you got to get into the camp. And I'm sure that's not the easiest thing to do, but it sounds plausible. I'm not saying that I'm recommending you use this money to do that, but if money's not a thing and you have an opportunity to do this, I mean, what other world are you going to be able to play Jimmy Butler in one-on-one in?
Why would you want to play Jimmy Butler one-on-one?
I don't know. What else could $700 buy you? It can't buy you that.
You're paying $700+ to lose.
Yeah, I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to play Jimmy Butler. You don't think that there's something cool about that?
You're gonna lose to him. I don't think that's gonna be fun at all.
I get to say I did.
He's gonna trash talk you. He's gonna dunk all over you
for sure. And I get to say everyone like I played Jimmy Butler in one-on-one. What have you done? Who have you played? Who have you played? Come on. Yeah, who have you played? Who have you even played anyone that can dunk? I mean, come on. You're writing down community service hours where you're playing with every Sunday now.
Well, I'm not playing on Sunday. I'm playing on Tuesday nights. Totally different. Under the lights.
Same age group.
I don't get what you're gonna brag about to people that you lost to Jimmy Butler in one-on-one. So could you pay him a little bit more and just to get to like shake his hand and have him say one nice thing to you?
Would you rather that? I'd rather play him one-on-one. I feel like I'm getting a hell of a lot more in the one-on-one than just a cameo of hello.
Well, I'm not seeing it in this article, but when I had done a little research for this last week, I believe that the one-on-one game is 2-1.
That's a little less exciting. I'm a little.
So it's not like you're out there for 20 minutes. You're out there for maybe 30 seconds.
I mean, I was hoping for 5. All right, if this could last as long as a decent roller coaster ride, 3.5 minutes, I think I'd be okay.
I don't think it's gonna last that long.
I don't think so either. But
you're not concerned you're gonna get hurt?
For sure. Well, if it's 1 point, I feel better about the hurt. I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to say I play against Jimmy Butler. What do you think I'm going to try? I can't. There's no positive outcome to all this.
He might run you over.
He's going to run me over. I'm going to wear shoulder pads. All right, I'm going to be ready. I'm gaining weight right now just for it. I'm ready. All right, next year, I don't know if I have any eligibility for whatever high school cheerleading camp this is, but I'm gonna find some, and we're going to set this up. This is with.
All right. So is it more? Is it the dollar price point, or is it more that it's Jimmy Butler? Because there is also an option that you could play Andre Drummond one-on-one, and that was only $300.
No, I want Butler to talk trash to me for like 3 minutes. I don't think I can handle anymore. But there's something. Butler was going to play into this. I think Butler's going to give you your money's worth, and it might be something you're not asking for, but you're going to get it. Whereas the Drummond, I think there's just going to be something about seeing a large human being like that that's going to blow your mind, and I'm going to be uncomfortable standing next to him. I would be uncomfortable standing next to any of these guys, but he is a foot taller than Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's a foot taller than me, so that's I don't know. I'm not tall enough to ride this ride, all right? This isn't what I'm signing up for. It's also this.
Okay. What about Anthony Simons? That's $350.
I could get lucky and he could shoot and maybe he misses. I don't think he will. See, Jimmy's not going to settle for a shot, and I'm not stealing the ball from Drummond. He's just too strong. But Simons could settle for a shot, and despite him averaging one of the top 10 percentages in the league for 3-point percentage, I still think there's a chance it doesn't go in. And then I get the ball. Could I even just touch the ball in this game?
If they start with the ball, you're not touching the ball.
Oh no. I don't even know. Even if I start with the ball, I don't know if I'm going to have the ball very long. This is I like it.
These are NBA players.
Oh, for sure. I'm not training for this.
These are current NBA players. These aren't even retired NBA players.
So you don't think he'd miss?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think he'd miss either.
I think they're just lining this up and raking in the cash in a half an hour, or just making bank, just real quick.
Yeah, you know what else is going to be rough too is I guarantee every one of these guys, I could straight up foul, and it's not going to make any difference. I can
not even a little bit of difference.
I could hug Butler and he would take me for a ride.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that, because now I think about it, any of those guys. Yes, I think if there were no fouls, I could do whatever I wanted. I could try to take a swing. I could try to wrap them up. I think they would still score on me in so quickly.
I would hurt myself trying to hurt them. Absolutely.
Probably.
Like almost
These are
definitely.
elite athletes.
All right, did we milk enough out of this topic? I don't know how we got this much. Just, you know.
It's interesting. I didn't even think about it as the cameo option where you know your angle. Where I'm thinking like, oh well, you're gonna play, like you're gonna get worked, and it's gonna be really fast. But yeah, I guess if you're paying for 30 seconds where you actually get to meet Jimmy Butler and you're a huge Jimmy Butler fan, maybe you don't care so much about getting to lose. It's like, hey, I was on the court at the same time I got to meet him, and it wasn't just a hey, here's a voicemail. So that's an interesting angle.
Talk to your office crew, man. Go talk to those actors. Tell me how much they're charging for their cameo. It's up there, and you're not getting nearly as much of an experience as I think you're getting with the one-on-one here. All right,
I'll take a look and do some research.
All right, let's go with some conference realignment here. I guess this is over. Like, should I play like what's the sad music of like something's ending? What's coming to an end? Something. Is this funeral songs? What do we play? The organ?
It sure looks like the Pac-12 is done. And they label themselves the Conference of Champions, all on the West Coast. They did a weird TV deal where they had the Pac-12 network. A lot of the conferences are doing it, but they made it harder to, they weren't aligned with ESPN, so it made it a little bit harder to, get access to it, where it was a little more of a standalone, as well as if you're on the East Coast, a lot of these games are starting late. So some people like that. Some people are saying, hey, like you start at 10:30. I'm not watching that. So they missed out on a lot of viewers. It was kind of a real red flag when USC and UCLA joined the Big Ten last year. But on Friday, they had 5 teams leave, both to the Big Ten and to the Big 12. And there are only 6 teams left, I believe. So they're going to need to get more if they're hoping to kind of stay afloat. But I think it's going to be tough to do. But I think we go through this, I don't know, every decade or so, and there's just some big realignment that happens, and the rich seem to be getting richer, and I don't think we're necessarily too far away from some sort of super conference. But yeah,
is that bad?
Is that bad? There was rumblings.
Are you against the super conference? Because every time we do this, I ask you, I'm like, well, why did the team leave? Like, what are they offering over there that this team can't offer? Like the college football makes money. Like how can you not match that? And the idea is you just can't match it. So what is everyone doing wrong here? They're going to greener pastures. Is that really? Like, I'm supposed to be mad at you for that? This is like Jaylen Brown getting big money right now. He deserved it. He earned it. He's qualified for it. He has the ability to get it. Isn't that what every other team should be doing here?
I think it hurts some of the regional rivalries that get broken up. I think for football, and football is one that drives this, they make the most money. So for football, it's, oh yeah, you got to travel once a week. All right. But if you're, a smaller sport, and now you're USC and you got to go play at Rutgers, I mean, that's a cross-country flight. I mean, it's one thing to have to do that for a major championship that happens maybe, once a decade. I mean, depending on how good your team is, but this is the regular season now. This is going to happen all the time. And I think that it's going to be tough. And I'm wondering, with it being more expensive for schools, maybe football is able to cover it for all the other schools. But I just get concerned where, the saying is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and just the greed gets to be too much. And then this all comes crashing down where it was at a good level. Everyone was making good money. And it's just the suits got too greedy. I wonder, you're hearing about how ESPN is doing layoffs, and you're hearing how the cap's going up in the NBA because of the TV deal, and just it's like, well, how can both these things be happening? How can all this money be flowing to the leagues if these TV markets are struggling? And I just concerned that if the greed gets to be too much, and then this all comes crashing down, and then we lose out on college football.
I do think that this is going to have a huge shift on college gambling in the betting. Like you're going to be that long travel is going to be playing a huge factor in it if it hasn't already in the past. Like, oh, they're coming, they're going from west to east. You know, they're gonna be tired. You're gonna be factoring in that the other team's getting an extra point or whatever for it.
Weather. You got USC that now has to go play Wisconsin, and it's late November. And they're coming from practice where it's 75 and sunny every day, and it was Wisconsin. It hasn't gone above 10 in a week, and the ground is rock hard.
I do agree with you that the loss of traditional rivalries is a loss. Like I think back to even just Syracuse now being in the ACC of some of that old rivalries with the Big East and all that, and of how that's very different than the way it is now. The Syracuse program is different than it is now, and they might not ever recover post Boeheim now. So that's very much an end of an era. But I do think, like, what's the newest rivalry that exists now? Like, is it just old ones? Like, how do we recreate new ones now that we have these new conferences? Does an incident have to happen, or they just have to play every year for 10 years before it becomes a rivalry?
I think it's almost like a nickname. You can't force it. You can't say this is our rival. This is how it works now. Whenever you do that, that's the school that gets laughed at, because the other school just looks back and says, "All right, little brother, we're not rivals." So I don't think it's something that can be forced.
Yeah, but all right, then how do we make it? Because I think we need that. If we get that, this is fine. If you can get that feeling of excitement of like, oh my God, these two are playing. That's right. These guys hate each other every year. Which it's as if they're not trying any harder to beat every other team, and that this is the only game that they turn up for.
I think what you're doing is you're trading off. So you have these better teams going to these bigger conferences. So there's less. Ideally, the whole talent of that league goes up. So rather than, hey, these teams used to play each other, there's they've been playing each other for 60 years and there's a rivalry there. It's, hey, these teams are good this year and they're not in different conferences, so they will play each other.
Well, I think the competition got better and the talent will get better with it, and that'll hopefully lead to better football and better games and perhaps better rivalries. I don't know if it'll be better, but it could be rivalries. That's what they need. That's all they need. It's just weird.
I think your question is very fair, because nobody likes change, and so it's a good thing to ask of, is this really a bad thing? And I try to be resistant to it, because you're just always going to remember sports from like a certain age where, so let's say, the Big East, when Syracuse was there, that was when I was in college. So that's kind of where, that's how, it used to be. But if you went 10, 15 years before that, there's somebody that's 10 to 15 years older than me that's saying, well, this is how things used to be. I wish it had stayed like this. And there's a guy that's 30 years older than me that's saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think even with everything everyone's saying there, I think everyone will still say, like, those original rivalries are second to none.
But you know what I'm doing? Next year, when USC is playing at Rutgers at noon, and I've gambled on the game, I'm going to be watching USC at Rutgers at noon, and I'm not going to go, oh, I don't know, these volleyball players, they had to travel so far, because they're not on my TV. So I think there's something to be part of that I'm hesitant, but it's not going to stop me from watching college football. It's not going to stop me from watching college basketball. That's for sure.
Hey, man, can you just let the Rutgers campus live a little bit? They get to travel to USC now. You keep looking at this the other way. Let them have a little fun. They're in college.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, New Jersey, you get to go to New York City all the time, but now you get to go over to LA. Yeah, you're right.
Didn't have any interest in joining the team, but now they checked off LA for 2 weeks. Maybe I'll give the tryout a try. Just go to the tryouts. All right, well that's all we got for us today. I'm not sure if we're going to do a draft next week or what it's going to be, but it'll be something worthy. I promise, as always, we'll prepare and do everything we can for it.
Well, I'm thinking maybe what we do is we do one more draft. We give you one last chance, but preseason games, the Hall of Fame game, that's kind of its standalone. But this weekend, all the teams are playing preseason games. We're going to have to start doing NFL conference and division previews.
We're getting there. I think we'll line this up just perfectly once the season kind of gets going, and we'll definitely incorporate that into the upcoming shows. I'm very excited to do our picks for football. Those will be back. Might have a couple extra twists. We also have a beer mile coming up. That's probably about a month away. If we just got to lock down a location and coordinate some filmography with some people, and it'll happen. But yeah, football's here. I can't believe we're already through August a little bit now, and we'll be back next week with a whole lot more.
I'm giving you a tally point.